Say if I'm the head of sales and I'm with a flagship account, and the account says, listen, we're killing it in revenue, market share, and margin, and your offering is great, but listen, we've got this covered. How do you get them to get paranoid about success?
Well, I have a number of different techniques. One that I look at is if you looked at BlackBerry in 2008, right, which is notable for being the year after the iPhone was introduced and so forth. And there's actually an interview that was done of one of the BlackBerry co-CEOs at the time. And he was asked, he said, have you ever thought about what you're going to do if this popular product isn't your main product? And he said, no, I don't think about it. You know, the great fun is just doing what we do every day. We don't bother about that. Now, here's the interesting part. If you looked at BlackBerry's stock sales chart, 4 years after that conversation, their sales were still going like this. 4 years. What happened to them was Apple and Samsung and the others finally figured out true industrial grade security on these modern day smartphones. And that had been BlackBerry's #1 selling point. So once they started to release versions of these phones that were security ready, they started to encroach upon the office place. BlackBerry's sales tanked, and the stock price kind of followed suit. So what I try to really encourage people to think about is, you know, the first version of what you're doing is not the trajectory that subsequent versions are going to be on. Apple released that phone in 2007 knowing it wasn't going to be great security. And you remember how smartly they introduced it. They went, in the US anyway, they went into a 2-year exclusive partnership with the worst network, the AT&T network at the time. And they said, you know, we're willing to take the fact that the network isn't going to be good enough for business customers. We're willing to take the hit that this is going to be a consumer device. We're willing to, you know, not sweat too much about security because this is just the first version. We'll fix that stuff down the road. And indeed they did. So now they're available on any network. Now the security is excellent. Now, you know, they've solved all those problems. So I think one of the things that you need to really help your customers see is the environment right now is static. It's good. But if you look down the road, there are going to be other players who are going to come in and they really want to change things. So if you take Amazon Web Services just as a case in point, right? Fabulous business, hugely profitable. I think it drives most of the company's free cash flow. And for years, they kind of had that market to themselves. But today, you've got very capable competitors. You've got Azure, you know, on the Microsoft side. You've got other players. You've got people who are not part of Amazon's ecosystem and would prefer not to be coming in. You've certainly got capable players like Google sort of eyeing that space. So even though they're doing great, you know, that may not be the case for the next shift in competition.